When it comes to environmental protection, one of the biggest challenges is how to balance competing interests. All too often, there is a conflict between nature conservation and economic growth. But taking action on climate change can unlock new opportunities if it is done right. So welcome to Eco Africa. I am Sandra Kahumza Twinovideo, right here in Kampala, Uganda.
On today's show, we'll be seeing what doing it right can look like. I'm Chris Alems coming to you from Lagos, Nigeria. Good to have you with us. Here's what's coming up. A Ugandan climate activist who takes tree hugging very seriously. Why mixed forests are healthy forest? And reducing the carbon footprint of international shipping. But we'll begin on South Africa's west coast, in a coastal community that plays a key role in the luxury seafood market because it is home to one of the world's most expensive shellfish. But that leaves the local fisher people caught between the need to make a living and the need to protect marine life.
In the waters of Doring Bay on South Africa's west coast, divers are on a mission to protect what they call white gold. The world's most highly priced shellfish feasts on kelp and could be mistaken for a mussel. But the perfectly camouflaged abalone is in fact a snail with grazing habits that help to keep the kelp ecosystem in balance. Its population is on the brink of extinction due to poaching and illegal trade with Asia, where it is a lucrative delicacy. In Doring Bay, people are trying to provide alternatives.
And we're having 2 people off the farm currently in Gordons Bay at a diving school training to become commercial divers. And then we will take out another 2 people from the community to do diving for us. And that will also help us to curb the poaching process.
Samuel van Rooyen is the CEO of the Doring Bay Abalone Farm. The company strives to provide a sustainable and legal alternative, growing the snails on land and in the ocean. An abalone snail takes up to 10 years to grow to size before being harvested and dried for export.
So the customer loves if the abalone have a long shape, especially the thickness of the abalone is also playing a role.
The farm is the main employer in the small fishing town, with a permanent workforce of 52 people breeding, growing and preparing the snails for market. The company is 35% community-owned through the Doring Bay Development Trust. The idea is to keep local residents on board with sustainable fishing.
If you steal from your share, at the end of the day, when your share will be declared, will be smaller. And I think people start understanding their business role as a shareholder outside in the community. So they start protecting our sea life now.
The fate of the abalone is closely linked to socio-economic inequalities in South Africa. Here in Hamburg and Cape Town, people have been living off the sea for generations. But the government reductions of quotas to protect the remaining stocks left small-scale fishers with close to nothing. Fishers like Warren and his colleagues continued going out to catch abalone regardless.
It's dangerous, but what can we do? We risk our lives just to feed our families.
A good day I can get maybe 2,000 rand, and the diver get maybe 40 or 50,000.
Yeah, I have thought about quitting multiple times. I've considered. The only thing that's keeping me is that I don't have a solid income.
Yeah, we don't break in, we don't hurt no one. We just take what we think is going to sustain us.
The poachers earn just a tiny share of the illegal trade. But over the past 17 years, the total value of illegally harvested abalone from South Africa was estimated to be $890 million. Regular law enforcement has not managed to stop a trade that's become increasingly violent and corrupt. Kimon de Greef is a journalist and researcher who says abalone poaching has reached an all-time high.
That obviously has some ecological impacts. Generally, they aren't super well understood because the decline happened so rapidly and the ecological functioning of abalone wasn't something that had been sort of closely monitored before. marine biologists in South Africa would have been focusing on other fisheries or other ecosystem dynamics.
Moreover, other factors, such as climate change, have impacted the kelp ecosystem, making it hard to pinpoint the effects of the declining abalone populations. Sustainable farming is one way out of the crisis, but so far it is not competing with the booming illegal market. Customers in Asia pay up to 2,000 Hong Kong dollars, more than 200 euros, for one single abalone. So you won't find many local restaurants here with abalone on the menu. Among the precious few is Fine in Cape Town.
We get our abalone from Lambert's Bay, further up the west coast. Yeah, all their farming practices and everything are completely sustainable. We can get them in live in the shell. We can use the liver and the entrails and everything. So there's zero wastage. We're going to bake the abalone in kelp. The natural glutamates bring out the umami flavor from the abalone. There's a lot of negativeness attached to it, and I think it's our sort of job to educate the general public and our guests as to the more sustainable farming practices that we do have. How are you enjoying the abalone?
Really delicious.
Thank you.
Expect that.
Back on the Doring Bay abalone farm, we meet Ashley, who provides a glimpse into how important this sustainable solution can be.
I have passion for my job. I love what I'm doing. It changed my life in a lot of ways. You have friends show you wrong things and so on. When I get this job, I start to separate myself from them, and now I'm a lone worker. I'm a family man. Take care of my family, take care of my kids.
Hopes are high that the abalone farm will grow and reinvest in the community.
If it can develop, I think it would help create jobs for more people in the community, and so we can live, we can go further.
And the prospect of fishing communities having more secure livelihoods should also bring dividends for the abalone population.
Have you ever hugged a tree? Research shows that it has many health benefits for us. It helps us relax, improves our mood, and lowers our heart rate and blood pressure. And most importantly, it connects us with nature.
That is right, Chris. And this is why an activist right here in Uganda realized that it is a great way to raise awareness of how trees also contribute to the health of the environment.
Patricia Ariokot had spent 15 hours hugging this tree when disaster struck. Hard. A lightning strike and power cut ended her world record attempt. But the Ugandan activist didn't give up. In January 2024, Patricia hugged this tree for more than 16 hours straight and is now officially registered in the Guinness Book of World Records. What looks like a fun stunt has a serious background though, and Patricia wants to draw attention to it.
The problem of climate change is huge, and at least now the world is just waking up to it. It's about time that we pick up the pace and plant these trees, because our natural forests are gone. We are using up the trees and not minding to replace them.
A statement that is particularly true for Uganda, which has one of the worst deforestation rates in the world. According to the online tracking portal Global Forest Watch, the country has lost more than 1 million hectares of tree cover between 2001 and 2022. For Patricia, this loss needs to be addressed. She says trees are key to facing our climate challenges.
Trees have very, very enormous advantages. At this very moment, I'm breathing in the freshest oxygen probably in the world, because I'm getting it direct from a tree, and at the same time it's taking in my carbon dioxide.
Just talking about trees is not enough for Patricia. She wants to help bring them back where they were lost in Uganda. For this, she needs the help of upcoming generations and a good idea to get their attention. In this case, it's wooden pencils filled with tree seeds. With these plantable pencils in her luggage, the activist regularly makes community outreaches, mainly in schools in eastern Uganda. So today, tree education is on the timetable for this class.
It's very important that they understand the journey they're about to take on, which is tree planting. And I want them to start the process from a seed. So this particular pencil, for it has seeds inside. And they're using it to study, but at the end of the day, it's going to translate into a tree. A tree was cut, and a tree is going to be planted. That is what I want them to basically understand from this. So you use your pencil.
The activist hopes she can help students to value trees more.
You said, and when you talk of planting, don't just put there in the soil, then for you go. You're supposed to water.
In this school, Patricia's tree and planting education was well received.
It has come at the right time when our region and the country at large is in need of mitigating climate change. For we all know how much our communities are destroying that trees, hence causing drastic climate change. So it is really in good time.
It takes decades until a seed has reached the size of these trees. All the more reason, says Patricia, to begin embracing them sooner rather than later.
My satisfaction would be that people see trees as things that we should love, that we should protect, and eventually plant. So you seeing me do this, maybe it could take something in your mind as well, that trees could be precious things that we can live very, very well with.
Trees are also the topic of our next report. The future of forests is a concern in France too. Higher temperatures and irregular rainfall are growing problems, and experts say they will only get worse in the coming decades. But the authorities think that they might have found a simple way to help build forest resilience. And here is how it works.
The oak tree on the right has hardly any leaves left and will soon die, while the one on the left is doing well, for the time being. Not a good sign. Here in the Molière Massif, foresters are trying out a strategy to cope with the effects of climate change. This is what's called a mosaic forest, made up of all sorts of different trees, including birches, oaks, and Turkish pines.
The mosaic forest is first and foremost a legacy of several silvicultural methods. We've seen regular high forest, irregular high forest, islands of old wood, islands of senescence, and restored habitats. And it's also an alternation of landscapes and a mix of species. That's what we need to remember about the mosaic forest. It's a mixture of vegetation strata that boosts the resilience of the forests of today and, above all, of tomorrow.
On 4,200 hectares of land, the French forestry agency, the Office National des Forêts, is trying out solutions to climate change. They're basing their experiments on a predicted temperature increase of 4 degrees Celsius by the end of this century. Climate stress is like a silent storm, the experts say, causing as much damage as forest fires, and it's one that isn't stopping. They're diversifying the forest with conifers, deciduous trees, and southern tree species. They've planted sessile oaks, for example, which originated in southern France under mature oaks. This protects the small oaks in very hot, dry summers. The foresters use a net to collect acorns to be used in their program. They hope that the introduced species will hybridize with native oaks.
The importance of the mosaic forest in relation to climate change is to always have one or more solutions, to avoid deadlock, and to continue to help the forest to adapt. We can see that climate change is happening very fast, and the forest's ability to adapt to the speed of climate change is limited. And that's where the forester's contribution is important, in helping the forest to adapt to climate change more quickly.
The French foresters are pinning their hopes on a mosaic of tree species instead of a monoculture. It's more difficult to manage, but it's also more resilient to intensifying climate change.
Our next report is about another French initiative, the first hydrogen-powered ship to sail around the globe, a journey that will have taken 7 years in total. It is set to return to France later this summer.
That's right, Sandra. About 80% of global trade is carried by sea, and maritime transport is normally highly carbon intensive. But now the International Maritime Organization is aiming to hit net zero emissions by 2050. So this project has really been making waves.
This catamaran might look futuristic, but it's already sailing the seas today. The Energy Observer is on a mission to show that one day shipping could be environmentally friendly and emissions-free.
You can see all the type of the solar panels. We have 200 square meters of solar panels on board.
There's an urgent need for such a clean solution. From fishing vessels to cruise ships and cargo freighters, international shipping has a huge climate impact, accounting for around 3% of the world's greenhouse gas emissions. The industry has made some steps towards sustainability. The first container ship to also run on green methanol made from biogas set off in September 2023. But that still can't hold a candle to this zero-emissions catamaran, which already has more than 60,000 nautical miles under its belt. The Energy Observer boasts two high-tech, fully automatic wing sails, which can rotate 360 degrees to capture the most wind, and can even help produce electricity. Below deck, a hydrogen fuel cell can generate power even during unfavorable weather conditions.
This is a fuel cell to convert hydrogen in electricity, to produce electricity to charge our 400 volts batteries.
The Energy Observer 2 is already in the works. A 120-meter-long cargo ship with a capacity of 5,000 metric tons powered by liquid hydrogen. It may seem like a lot of high-tech, but the crew of the catamaran hopes their innovations will become standard in the future.
We use hydrogen to charge our batteries and to power and to sail only with the sun, with hydrogen and with the wind. So no diesel on board, nothing, all is clean on this ship.
Did you know more than 50% of people here are involved in agriculture in Africa? Most of them don't have giant fields to work with. They plant their crops in their gardens around their homes. But you need to know how to do it right. An initiative in Ghana teaches people how to cultivate their own tomatoes, onions, and peppers.
A crowd of women is gathering to get some gardening tips. Growing fresh produce isn't hard, and the benefits are enormous.
When they start coming out,
Here in northern Ghana, Alberta Akosa and her team are showing local women how best to create a backyard vegetable garden. The small organization started out as a social media project and soon gathered momentum, attracting a growing number of female followers.
we had seats at our office. We had some small garden tools. So we started advocating, putting on social media that if you want to a backyard garden, just contact us. And it was, honest, I don't know whether to use the word crazy. It was crazy, a crazy week for us.
Within a week, 700 volunteers signed up for the One Household, One Garden program. Many of them were women who had gotten out of the habit of gardening or whose husbands didn't want them working in a garden. But during the pandemic, food prices rose dramatically, and many people decided to go back to growing their own vegetables. It has an impact on the entire community.
Anytime we support women, we realize that there's a multiplication. We've, over the years, supported women farmers, women processors, women marketers, widows who are also into farming, pregnant women, and single mothers. And we realize that it's extended beyond their family to their communities, changing livelihoods and being an inspiration and serving as mentors even within their communities.
Once they complete training, the women are awarded seeds and a pair of rubber boots. They'll be going home to plant tomatoes, onions, and peppers. If their vegetable patches flourish, they'll even have enough produce to sell.
What I've learned here will benefit me a lot. I can make some money with what we've been trained to do. It will also help mothers feed their children after every harvest. This could be very good business for me.
In recent years, food prices have doubled, even at local markets. The coronavirus crisis has caused ongoing supply chain problems. Alberta Acosa is keen to make agriculture a more stable sector. She believes that a lot more locally grown produce could be sold at local markets. Ghana is a fertile country that's rich in resources.
It's quite expensive, and the fact that you are not even seeing anyone from Ghana, always from Cote d'Ivoire. So, like, you are looking at transportation costs here and all that's going into it.
Now 41, Alberta Acosa heads the organization. She originally wanted to be a journalist. Now she's an activist traveling across the country with her team. In the last 5 years, they've trained up to some 26,000 women.
I was more into consultancy when I started my career. I ended up having a path which made me more fulfilled, and that is traveling across the country, dialoguing, dining with women farmers, with smallholder farmers, and seeing what I can do in my own small way to support.
Agriculture in Ghana is a struggling sector. A growing number of farmers are giving up. The driving principle behind AgriHouse Foundation is that cultivating vegetables should be profitable. The project also promotes healthy eating. It has the support of local governments.
And overall, it also raised the consciousness of people's awareness in seeking to make their environments cleaner by having those gardens. So it is a concept that, for me, is a holistic in terms of getting the right nutrition, getting the environment clean, and more importantly, also generating people's interest in practicing agriculture at that level.
Alberta Acosa follows up on her training courses, visiting participants years later to see how they're getting on. The idea is that they plant gardens that are sustainable. They have to last longer than just one season. The experts give tips on how to get the most out of a small space.
I wish that I extend my garden to be able to feed some of my neighbors around, not only my family. Because if I have more, people around me can also benefit from it. So that's what I'm hoping for.
The women learn new skills and hopefully start to earn an income too. But not everyone approves.
That's
Alberta Acosa and her team make a point of talking to participants' husbands and the village leaders to convince them that it's in everyone's interest.
Everything that we do, and we want to say we are very positive about this group, and we know that they will implement it. At the end of the day, we want to see them more empowered. We want them to be proud of themselves as women.
Seeing women learn to take pride in their achievements is what drives Acosa. Today, she's just shown over 100 women how to be more self-sufficient. Hopefully, besides their gardens, their self-confidence will blossom and flourish too.
What a beautiful sight. That's it for this edition of Eco Africa. Thank you for watching. I am Chris Alems signing off from Lagos, Nigeria.
Bye, Chris. See you next time. And to all our viewers out there, if you have any ideas on how we can all protect our planet, then write and share them with us. We love hearing from you. Until then, check out all our social media accounts. I am Sandra Kahomza Twinogdio, saying goodbye from Kampala, right here in Uganda.
No.